Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show. Special guest today is David Swoops, the co-host of New Mexico Motorsports Report, and thanks for coming on, Dave.
Well, thanks for having me. We're very excited to join the Proview Networks team, and looking forward to all the neat things we could do here.
Well, first of all, same way on my side. This is something I've been working on and dreaming of actually for almost 5 or 6 years. It's something that I think the city of Albuquerque and the state of New Mexico needs, and it was just great to run into you and see you have the same passion I have for motorsports that I have for all high school sports.
I will, absolutely. Just to give you a little background on how this whole thing started, I used to be the general manager out at Sandy Motor Speedway, and so I know firsthand how hard it is to get people out to the track. So we basically had started a radio show back in 2010 to get people out to the track. So we of course, we talked about NASCAR and Formula One and different forms of racing, which was like the 5th most popular sport at the time, behind all the ball and stick sports, and so we just wanted some presence about how how fun it is to go out and enjoy a race. So we started that little show just to get people out to the track. Then had the opportunity in 2012 actually to join the team over at ESPN Radio 1017 The Team. We started our first radio show over there actually in February 2013 at Super Nationals. We kicked it off, and so it's been great. Along the way, of course, I met Dominic Aragon, editor-in-chief of the RacingExperts.com, and he basically encouraged me to get my NASCAR hard card, and then we became kind of a team, if you will. Joined up. He started as an intern for me, and now he's blossoming. He's working over at KOB during the day, and at night we're seeing what we can do with the New Mexico Motorsports Report. He brings a lot of that TV expert because I definitely have a face for radio, and I bring some of the interviews and the in-depth analysis really as his co-host. But we're really looking forward to see what we can do. I'm amazed, Steve, at the difference between TV and radio, and all we've really done is a pilot and a sample episode. But the one that's coming up on Thursday, we already got Al Unser Sr. to come in and get on the camera.
Well, you got me already. I mean, nothing against you and yourself, but
right?
that just when you say Al Unser,
yeah,
the name Unser, just an Unser in New Mexico is like. We may have an audience, maybe have the first sold-out audience in the studio.
Yeah, well, and that was funny because when he came in immediately, he was recognizable, and and people like to talk to him, get their picture taken with him. What they don't realize is how humble a man he is. I mean, for 4 Indy 500 victories, you've got 9 from the state of New Mexico. I told him that during the period of 1968 when Bobby won his first to 1994 when Junior won his last, they won those 9. That was a 65% winning percentage. I mean, that's phenomenal. You don't see that at any other level of sport, and just to get close to him over the years, and kid him about racing snowmobiles up in Chama. They now
that's a touchy subject, though.
Right. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, we commented outside about putting money in the meter. He's like, well, I can't use another ticket. So we joked about that as well. But yes, that is. But I mean, what a great representative of New Mexico. I mean, I've been to the Indy 500. You tell people, from Albuquerque, oh, the Unsers. I mean, it's legendary. So it's great to have them, involved. And of course, I told Al, I said, you were my first guest on the radio, being my first guest on TV. I mean, I think that's the lucky streak we need. So, but those are the connections that the motorsports community has. It's maybe a little bit different. We all know that we're in this together, whether it's the drag strip or, the circle track or, the drift community or, Solo One, SCCA. We're all in this together because we have to pool all of our resources. So that's really what the New Mexico Motorsports Report is. it's the place where all of that information is. So we do a local segment as well. So it's like, hey, this is what's going on this weekend if you want to go out and see a race or participate. So that's one of the main things that we do. Of course, we have all the information available on our website, nmmotorsportsreport.com. And then if you want to follow the latest news for NASCAR, it's theracingexperts.com. And so, we really are passionate about this. These are basically a passion, and not even a full-time job for us. I mean, we get paid to work somewhere else, but we do this on our weekends and our evenings and stuff. Mainly, I actually get to write off a little bit of my cable bill because it's work related. So watching the races, and because I can't make it to all of them, but it's pretty neat, and it's a neat opportunity to join together with you guys and bring your audience something a little bit different, where they can follow what's going on nationally, but then they could also get out and see a local race. I mean, there's a lot of great things that are going on here that people just don't know about, and of course, how expensive media can be to buy. And so this is just a way to try and help the motorsports community and the individuals that are passionate about it to go out and see a race.
Well, the good thing about Proview Networks is, on Comcast Channel 26, which has 220,000 subscribers, but I think more than that is it's played. Your show will be played 3 or 4 times during the week before the next episode. So, so that's if you miss it at a certain time, but also we have the YouTube part of it that anybody can go on demand and see it, and that's where that's where things have changed for you and I. Is a social deal. Basically, you can put a link up, and especially with the first guest you have. So, yeah, and I'm sure people are going to want to see Al, because he's not in town often, but he gets to the museum more than you would think. It's really neat. They talk about people come from all over the world to the museum, and then they're surprised. They're like, "Hey, it's you." And he's so approachable, and they're so supportive of the community. But yeah, I mean, I think that the access, a lot of our podcasts are available, on demand. After we air them on the radio, you can go to the website and they're there. So we'll put the links up there as well. For the TV show, I'll have some of my relatives that I'm sure are going to go on there and comment, and give us some hard time. So, but we look forward to it, because the more people that are aware of the neat things that are going on, the more that they can go out and participate. Well, we're going to go to the Dreamstyle or remodeling top 10 plays. We're going to come back and talk more about Dreamstyle Motorsports Report.
Thank you, Steve.
Right in front of y'all, he missed it. First attempt, still has it. Fires it in, Viola from the angle. How'd he do it? It doesn't matter. It's in the back of the net.
Yep. Speaking of urgency, there goes Kyle Jones. He could be gone. Jones at the 50. One man to try to catch up to him. He's not going to do it. Kyle Jones scores. Touchdown. Zandia, 80 yards.
Through air, double pass. Austin Heiss fires wide open. It's Derek Reyes, and he's going to score. Touchdown.
Trent will kick his field at the 8-yard line. Mahoney's got some room.
Oh my
One man
gosh.
to beat. Mahoney might be gone at the house. Don't see anyone catching him. Wow. Mahoney is gone. Touchdown. Just like that. After El Dorado scores, Mayfield comes and strikes right back, Roger.
In overtime for the win. Callan Balin. He's in. Touchdown. And the Rams have won it. What a big time game tonight. Callan Balin.
First down and more. 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. Redmond will score. Redmond Troy, 47-yard touchdown run.
And there goes Kade Jones. This could make him more. He is off to the races. One man to beat, and he's not going to catch him. Touchdown, Sandia.
He ran so hard and so violently, he ran out of his shoes, Scott.
Start the party off in the first quarter. Here's the handoff to Milton. Look out. Milton's off to the races. Shot out of a cannon, and he's going to score. Touchdown.
How about the way he accelerated when he saw pursuit?
School in Arizona. Ball in the back of the net. Finally. That's set piece opportunity.
Oh, wow, they got to Schreier there. I don't know how he got that kickoff. Give it at the midfield stripe. There's a penalty marker. Werner's off to the races. Gotta be stop him here. He's got a touchdown. We'll have to check the laundry.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Davis Show. We got David Swoops. He was the co-host of the New Mexico Sports Report and also ESPN 1017 every Saturday morning, correct?
Yeah, from 8 to 9.
8 to 9. And then after that, the Marty Watts and,
Right.
and Freddie's show starts at 10 o'clock. And then Herring comes
Yep.
on after that. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good line. Then Henry T.
I know it's kind of daunting to be headlining that group. Fred and Marty, though, I mean, I see them every Saturday because they come on after me. They're a lot of fun. I mean, to me,
I'm actually part of that now. I get a 5 or 10 minute segment of just to talk about what's going on with Proview during the week,
yeah.
and it really works out. You know, I'm local. I mean, I'm from Clovis, New Mexico. I come to play basketball at University of New Mexico, and I adopted Albuquerque since probably more Albuquerquean than I am Clovis, with all the coaches and all the athletic guys I know now. But it's fun to see them like yourself so passionate about what you're doing.
well, and you were sharing off camera the excitement of being one in Duke Stadium, but to have your picture next to one of the Unzers, and you felt like, wow, that raises my status.
Well,
wow.
it's Bob Selecki, and it was a stadium club, I do believe, and people going back. I'm dated there. I'm dating myself there. I'm being very careful, but you know, he had in each booth had a little booth, and he was kind of like, you know, the godfather of Lobo basketball at the time, and I remember he had a picture of him sitting in with a suit and dealing with all the Lobos around him, and that's how you walked into the stadium club, and then he had an oil painting of me, and Unser was next to him, and that's my claim to claim is that I was, you know, I was next to Unser, but for a guy that Selecki had for him to have me up there with all the great Lobos up there, that was a great honor too.
Right, absolutely. Well, there was a lot of great Lobo teams. Of course, I remember when you guys were number 4 in the nation, and Norm Ellenberger and the great Jackets, and I loved when my dad would take me to
18,000 fans.
18,000.
The plus, because sometimes the fire marshals would cut the stalls off, and maybe actually about 21,000 people, but they would just kind kind of forget how to count. And, then what happened is later on, as rules and regulations get more still, they were actually in the aisles. They were sitting in the aisles before you couldn't walk, you couldn't get in or out.
Wow.
So, and that goes back to the Bob King days.
Right.
But you know, it's still probably one of the best venues in the world, I would say, to play basketball.
Yeah, so I got a great pit story. I went to the race 2014 in Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and I had my ESPN shirt on, but I had a Lobo shield on the arm. And so it was the first NASCAR race, you know, that I had covered for the station. And they put me down towards the end, so I was with the NASCAR officials. And Kerry Tharp was the director of communications and competition at the time. And you know, I'm a little nervous because, you know, I'm trying to figure out this whole media thing. And I walk up, and what he says to me is, he goes, "The pit." He didn't even, we hadn't even introduced himself, and he's like,
That's the Dreamstyle Arena, the pit.
Yeah.
And Larry Chavis was smart enough. He had 700 to 1,000 emails to recognize the history of the pit. So he put Dreamstyle Arena, the pit. So that's what it's called now. So that shows you how classy of a guy he is, and to see how the, you know, because he grew up in Albuquerque, and I, to this day, I think Scott Galletti was telling me the New Mexico used to be the New Mexico University Arena.
Right.
And I went to school there, and it was the pit. That's the only thing. That was the only thing that we'd be announced on the weekly game as the playing in the pit, and at Albuquerque, you know, the University of New Mexico at Albuquerque. So it was neat for him to the word the pit, and it's kind of. Even it's world known. Anybody that knows basketball, they want to play in the pit.
Yeah.
Or the Mexico, excuse me, you know, Dreamstyle Arena of the pit.
Absolutely. But it's interesting because, I mean, Kerry's from South Carolina, and for him to make that connection, I mean, that's the power of that venue. I mean, it's you go in Davilo Center, and they've got that list of, you know, top 10 venues in the country, and the pit, or top 20, because the pit at 13, but it's the only college arena. I mean, it's ahead of others. But yeah, what they've done, and Randall Marshall is a friend of mine with the marketing company that did the brand change. There's actually a presentation he's doing for the New Mexico American Marketing Association next week that I'm going to. They're going to talk about the whole process that Dreamstyle used and how they went about, you know, changing the naming, because I mean, you know how the public is about it. They really, you know, wanted to make sure that they participated in that choice, which I thought was very smart of Larry.
Well, also, and nothing against Wise Pies, but there was a little controversy with Wise Pies, and for everybody to, you know, it's kind of like, who's going to be the next person that comes in and lets the university down, okay? And that, with that kind of a commitment.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you know, because to me, I mean, when they talked about redoing Duke Stadium, you know, I mean, I was kind of against that too. I'm glad that it stayed where it is. I mean, I do believe
I'm still against it. I mean, I love the isotopes, but I'm against it personally, because we could have used that for the university at that time, and then built the one downtown.
Absolutely.
And then the railway coming in could have got all the communities coming into Albuquerque and downtown area. That's just my 2 cents.
You remember Civic Auditorium?
Correct.
Right there. I mean, you know, so we used to have another venue right there, and you know, people came down there, and so I think that likewise, I totally agree. What's wrong with it? Would have helped the resurgence of, you know, downtown, and, you know, a lot of other economic development things. But, you know, I mean, it is what it is.
And of course, the rail runner wasn't.
Right.
But if you think about it, how many cities have their transit,
Right.
where Bernalillo and Berlin and Los Lunas,
Right.
all the way to Santa Fe, could
Right.
come in and make get off the tracks and then go watch a baseball game. And again, Isotopes is probably one of the top venues in AAA. I guess that's right. Hold on, I'll stutter on that, but AAA baseball and again in the nation.
Yeah, well, in the marketing with the name of the Isotopes and everything, I mean, they've all done a great job. I'm amazed whenever I travel how many people know Albuquerque. They recognize Albuquerque. Sometimes, of course, they talk about, hey, isn't that where Bugs Bunny turned left? I mean, different things like that. But it's still one of the best kept secrets. I mean, this town has so much opportunity, and I think that we can grow. But to continue to focus on high school sports and local things, that's important. I mean, go to Texas. I mean, that's a religion over there. So I mean, it's. I think what you guys are doing is extremely important and offering a tremendous service for the families.
Well, Dave, we're going to come back and we're going to get more in detail about New Mexico Motorsports Report.
Very good.
Dave & Buster's is your destination for fun. Eat delicious chef-crafted food. Try sizzling favorites and new creations from our talented chefs. Drink the coolest cocktail creations. Play the hottest new games to win awesome prizes. And watch all the games in the best sports bar ever. Only at Dave & Buster's.
The Steve Davis Show is proudly presented by Dave & Buster's.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Davis Show. We have David Swoops, the co-host of the New Mexico Motor. I'm messing up. I knew I told you I was going to butcher this, and I did it. And I
New Mexico Motorsports Report.
And it's actually, you can watch it on 101.7 The Team. There's a different segment on that, but actually, your show's going to be airing on Thursday at 5:30. Is it every 5:30?
Yeah, we're looking forward to that, and of course we do a completely different show on the radio. Coming up actually this Saturday on the radio, I had an opportunity to catch up with Eric Jones, the driver in the number 77 Furniture Row Toyota Racing. Great young driver, 19 years old, almost made the chase. But yeah, we try and combine all forms of racing. We don't cover as much on motorcycles as maybe I'd like, or off-road or anything like that. But when we do have some good stories, we're actually going to talk Formula One this week. I know very few people talk Formula One, but ESPN.com and producer for Mike and Mike on ESPN TV actually is going to join us, Tom McKeon, and kind of break down some things that are going on with Sebastian Vettel actually taking the points lead. But a lot of great things going on. Of course, NASCAR for the first time is entering the playoffs starting this weekend. It's a 10-race series. They eliminate 4 cars every 3 races, so it's going to be exciting, and it's all new for them. But I think that it just comes down to just as a place, for people that are passionate about motorsports to kind of know what's going on and hear some in-depth interviews with maybe some access that they don't normally get. I went to Bristol, Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. It was the first time I got to see the race there. 100,000 crazy people watching a race on a half-mile track. That's the same size as Sandia Speedway. Big difference is we got 6 degrees of banking out at Sandia. They got 26 degrees, 150 miles an hour, and they were turning laps there at like 14 seconds. A neat thing was to get a 2-on-1 interview with Dale Earnhardt Jr. In his last season. Was interviewing him after the Xfinity race, and he was a little winded, so he actually went to the infield care center and that's pretty significant for that being his final season. Between me and Jim Utter with motorsports.com, we were the only two that were allowed an exclusive interview post release, and I asked him really if his concern for his health is much more heightened because of the 13 races he'd missed in 2016 because of his concussion. And he said, absolutely, have more of an awareness. And not only that, you know, it's inexpensive. I can come in here and get fluids for free. And I thought that was kind of Dale Jr.'s humor. But to be able to have that kind of access and you know, be in the room with USA Today, Bob Hawkers from ESPN.com and the editor of ESPN Magazine is pretty humbling. But the access for NASCAR to be right there with the drivers. As a matter of fact, Junior just kind of recognizes me as Albuquerque, as what he calls me. He doesn't even recognize you know, my name, but it's just you know, just having that kind of access and being able to share it with New Mexico that doesn't even have a NASCAR track is pretty neat.
Well, Dave, you know, my thing with sports, okay, and it goes to, we just found out a mutual friend,
Yes.
Lauren Jones,
Yes.
was probably, you know, I actually got to build his house and got to go in, and he would show me the garage was specially built.
Right.
The house was built around the garage.
Absolutely.
I mean, he had drain systems in it. He had the welders in it. He had a vacuum system in it. I mean, he had the whole 9 yards in his. But he was, you know, and you can help me out. He was part owners of some of the drag racing and things.
Yes.
And that's how, what I knew about, you know,
Lauren Jones
and Albuquerque's sports racing with motorsports racing.
Well, it's a good point, and losing Lauren was a tremendous loss. But he was very passionate about drag racing, the ABQ Dragway,
and boat racing too.
Yeah. Well, and you know the hot boat racing. I mean, you know, you went over to Phoenix at Firebird, and you did the boat racing over there. Charlie Fagan, who you know, runs Sandia Speedway now, was very involved in bringing Lucas Oil into that whole deal. But ABQ Dragway is at 53 years now, which is absolutely amazing when you consider the drag strip and the continue to make improvements to the track. But what most people don't realize about drag racing is you could be right there in the staging area. I mean, a ticket buys you access to everything. You can go into the pits, you can talk to the drivers. The drivers help each other a lot, you know, keeping the cars on the track, and it's a really, really supportive community. And it's not, it's out at Mesa del Sol. I mean, it's not a long drive to see some world-class racing. And there's a lot of neat things that go on. They do the Outlaw. See, that's a fine.
Yeah, that's a fine. You know what? It's been one of those mornings. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and you know, like I was saying with the drag racing, ABQ Dragway is a major supporter of what we do. And you know, we're always highlighting their events. Of course, one of the best kept secrets out there is an event that they do called Street to Strip, sponsored by Yearwood Performance, and it gets people off of the street. Basically, $20. You can come out and make as many passes as you want. You can grudge match with your friends. You know, you can come out there, but you know, I mean, just get it off the street and get out there and actually, if you're interested in drag racing, go out there and learn the fundamentals of drag racing, and it's very easy to get involved. The cost of getting into drag racing is probably one of the least expensive, because you could go out there with your street car, because it's really, you know, ETs. It's like, how close do you get on your time and how do you progress? It's not all heads up like you see on TV with NHRA, you know, when they rebuild the motors, you know, I mean, every run. But you can go out there and learn, and there's a lot of camaraderie. They got a huge event coming up called the All Out Call Out. And that's basically, totally a grudge style. You have to drive your car to the track. So I believe that they stage at the pit, and then they actually have to drive their cars out there. Not race out there, but drive their cars out there. And then it's heads up. You get to call out whoever you want. You race, and if you win, you continue. So it's a pretty neat venue. And like I said, Lauren had a lot to do with their development and was a major loss.
Well, it was, but anybody that knows Lauren, he could argue and he could do it, but he had a heart of gold because
Right.
when it really boiled down to it, he just wanted the right thing to be done, and
Right.
if he was on the one side of it, most of the time it got done that way.
Right, absolutely, and that's the way a lot of drivers are. Is they want the rules and they want the consistency so that it's a level playing field. I mean, winning is winning.
Well, Dave, hey, thanks for coming on. I'm looking forward to watching your show. I'm with every week, because every week you're gonna have different guests and talking about all the things that are going on the national level, also on the local level. So you bring a lot to Proview Networks, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Dominic Aragon, the host of the show, is doing a lot to bring in video and interviews and stuff, and I think it's going to be great.
And we're going to get him on next week.
Yeah, and I look forward to supporting him in the analyst role, co-host, whatever he needs, but we look forward to being a part of what you're doing.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Steve.